Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of To The Point Podcast. Everybody's doing well on this Tuesday, February 7th. We are live today with lots to get into. It is the still Super Bowl week. Yes, still Super Bowl week, Tuesday. And, it's interesting because it's Super Bowl week and that's the story, of course. It's the headline, it's the talking point, but it's not the most interesting development for me because what's there to talk about the Super Bowl right now? There's not that much. I mean, I'm going to break it down more throughout the week, of course. But I mean, let's be honest here. There's the Chiefs, there's the Eagles, and we know the players. The health, obviously, that's a storyline that we can dive into, that we can start to dissect, start to talk about. But in the grand scheme of things, that that isn't all that interesting to me because I think everybody's going to be healthy. We know that Mecole Hardman was placed on IR. He's a wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, so he's out. That's definitive. But Lane Johnson is going to be present in the game. Patrick Mahomes, he'll be banged up, but he'll play. Jalen Hurts' shoulder, yes, still hurt, I'm sure. But he'll be in the game. He'll be playing. We know it. These guys, they get it out. They'll get shot up. Whatever they have to do to play, they'll do it. So Super Bowl week will continue. We'll get into more and more as we get closer. And Thursday night, as I said, possibly tomorrow night. Still working out the details. Always planned, always set here to the point. Should be a roundtable. We will get into a number of different things Super Bowl related, and that should be fun. I think it should be fun. We'll get into game plans, who I see winning. We'll talk about the spread, different prop bets. So that's all forthcoming throughout the week. So stay tuned for all of that. On today's show, Shamus is going to join in a little bit. Shouldn't be too long. I'm going to be starting these podcasts a little bit later. So if you do listen live, you're waiting on iTunes or Apple or wherever you get your podcast, I'll be starting after 4 every day and just some work-related stuff. So that's will be after 4 o'clock every day. So these should drop around 5:36. Shamus will be entering the show a little earlier than accustomed to. Normally he enters about 50 minutes in. Normally it'll likely be under 20 minutes now, so he could be joining at any moment. So that's just what will be happening for me with the show moving forward. That's when the shows are going to start. But he'll join. We're going to talk about LeBron because LeBron James is 38 points away from breaking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record. I want to get Shamus' thoughts on how important this record is just historically, relating it to I talked about the Ovechkin goal chase yesterday, if he sees that as a relevant comparison. We're going to talk to Kyrie Irving, certainly. I want to ask him about his Boston Celtics. What should they be doing at the trade deadline? And we also got a fun segment, the top 5 worst teammates in pro sports, in the history of it. I put together a list. I know Shamus, we both love a list. They're fun. Put this together last night thinking about it, watching the Flames and Rangers game. And I'm interested to see how many we have the same. I have multiple sports. I got hockey. I got one from baseball, 2 from basketball, and 1 football. So there's a little teaser on my list, just the worst teammates in sports. Also going to get into some NFL storylines today. Just other stuff other than the Super Bowl. Sean Payton's made some noise lately. So I want to touch on that. We'll touch on Brian Flores getting hired as the next defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings. He was reportedly in line to be the new head coach for the Arizona Cardinals, but he takes this defensive coordinator job. And quite frankly, I think this is the smarter play. Now you might say, well, he could be a head coach here. That could, you don't want to pass up a head coaching job. Okay. But sometimes when you're a defensive-minded coach, sometimes when you were a head coach and you leave in weird circumstances like Brian Flores did, if you can recall, he was the former head coach of the Miami Dolphins and was fired and then sued the Miami Dolphins. You go to Arizona, I'm not so certain he's there past 1 year. Arizona had a black head coach, and he was fired in one season. Steve Wilkes, the same Steve Wilkes who did not retain his position with the Carolina Panthers after leading that team to a pretty successful stint under his interim tag. So Brian Flores looks around and he says, the Minnesota Vikings had a pretty damn good season. Their defense was the weakness of their team. Kevin O'Connell, an offensive-minded guy, turned it around. He had a pretty decent season with Kirk Cousins. The defense struggled, and a big part of the reason why the Minnesota Vikings, although going 13-4, did not even win a single playoff game. So Brian Flores in the NFC North looked around and says, the Bears have the first pick in the draft. They're likely not going to be a threat anytime soon, so let's check them off the list. Green Bay's in flux. We were better than Green Bay last year. So if we still got Kirk Cousins, we got our offense, we got Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in football. Let's improve this defense. Maybe we can turn it around quicker than we initially thought. And maybe we could be a team that wins a division again next year and makes a run into the playoffs. And Brian Flores will be back in the head coaching cycle. Because there's 4 to 5 jobs every year. You know what's going to happen. Guys are fired. They're hired to be fired. Houston has fired a coach every year. They fired Lovie Smith. They fired David Culley, both after one season. So these things can happen. Opportunities open up. And I assume Minnesota will make some changes to that defense. I still really like Eric Kendricks. Danielle Hunter, they'll have Zadarius Smith under contract, who had a pretty damn good season after leaving Green Bay. Their corners need work. It's something in Miami, those defenses always played pretty well. And that was Brian Flores' specialty. So I think it's a smarter opportunity for him to take the job in Minnesota as a DC rather than take the Arizona head coaching opportunity. Because Kyler Murray is going to miss time to start the year coming off his injured knee surgery. Who the hell knows who that quarterback's going to be? You going to be better than San Francisco? San Francisco wins games without a quarterback, seemingly. You're not going to match them. The Rams, can the Rams turn around and be competitive next year? Absolutely. Yes, I think they can. I have more faith in the Rams than certainly Arizona. And Seattle was just a playoff team with Geno Smith. But they got competent coaching. They got a competent ownership group that doesn't meddle. And they have a good foundation of players. Arizona doesn't. J.J. Watt just retired. A.J. Green retired yesterday. 7-time Pro Bowler. J.J. Watt, first ballot Hall of Famer, retiring. DeAndre Hopkins has requested a trade from the team. That's going to help you win. Chandler Jones isn't in Arizona anymore. How long is Budda Baker going to stay in Arizona with the team the way that it is? He's going to be sticking around for all these bad years with the Arizona Cardinals? Steve Wilkes he lasted 1 year there. Lou Anarumo's defensive coordinator for the Bengals. I'd want to go back to Cincinnati. Because guess what? You could win a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator next year. Because guess what Cincinnati has? Joe Burrow, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase. That I know that that's stable. Arizona has no stability. They're all over the damn place. So I'm gonna hitch my wagon to unpredictability, to untrustworthy people. No, I'm not making that's a bad bet. That's a losing hand. Because I think if Lou Anarumo goes back to the Bengals and he tells them, even though they're a cheap ownership group and they have been forever, hey, I want a little bit of a raise. We've got to back-to-back AFC championship games. I think he'll get it because I think they'll want him back. I think that the players like him. Mike Kafka is the other guy, the reported finalist. If you're Mike Kafka, maybe you take the job because if you really like Kyler, you're just the offensive coordinator in New York. Hey, you made it work with Daniel Jones. Kyler Murray is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones, yes. Absolutely. No doubt about it. But so maybe you take that on as a challenge. And you say, yeah, okay, I'll take Kyler Murray when he's back healthy. I'm going to get him to work. So good luck to the Arizona Cardinals. Good luck to whoever takes that job. I don't want it. Take a defensive coordinator job elsewhere. Good job to Brian Flores because he would just be the next black head coach to get fired after 1 year. So kind of sick of seeing that. Now this is a thrill for me in particular. It's always nice to talk to our next guest because it's always nice to have a handsome face on the podcast, which is never when it's just myself. But also, I've been teasing this segment for the last 2 days. He is our NHL All-Star Game correspondent, the great Shamus Fillmore. Shamus, hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm well. How you doing?
Better now.
Self-deprecating
Yeah,
a little bit.
it's one of my specialties. It's what I do well. How? So I got to start off with the hard-hitting journalistic question.
Okay.
How was the NHL All-Star Game?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was awesome. Should have been there. No, I mean, it's the same every year. The format's not great, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't bring a lot of attention, but they're there. It's sunny, and they seem to enjoy it. Maybe they don't. I'm not sure. But yeah, nice for the Atlantic Division to take the dub. Got to find out it's in Toronto next year, in the old in the capital of my heart. So yeah,
Right.
no, that was a good feeling. But yeah, other than that, some good moments. Nice to see Ovi be there for once. The last couple of years, as people like to know, Ovi opts out and just gets suspended the game after. But he attended. I think he did it for his kid, and there was a lot. They sold the old Sid and Ovi quite a bit.
Right.
Probably shoved it down our throats a little too hard.
I said this yesterday. What are the odds if Ovi's an All-Star next year? He goes to Toronto.
0. I
That
think
was fun.
I think it's 0.00001% chance.
Right.
I just think he was there because it was nice out. There's a lot of Russians there. I mean, who knows? And maybe he knows he does. It's like he doesn't have a lot of years left. Maybe after he gets
Mm,
his final destination, his final goal, which he will achieve, then maybe that's it. And then he's just like, yeah, I don't really need to play anymore. I've done everything I needed to do.
right. Any of the new skill competition stuff that either you loved or didn't like, stuff like that?
The one I loved was the golf one. Did you see that?
Is that the with the gloves on and the discs or something?
They actually got onto a golf course. This was like Suzuki, Johnny
Right.
Gaudreau, and some of the other guys, and they actually like played on a golf course, except with like obviously instead of golf clubs, they would have used their hockey sticks, which it was an interesting concept. It was different. They never did it before. It was kind of different. They mixed it up a little bit, and they seemed to have fun while they were doing it. There was lots of media around. Famous golfer Corey Connors was part of that. He was kind of the caddy for some of those guys, which was interesting.
Hmm.
The ones I didn't like, I never enjoy the shoot. Like they did the one this year where it was like one of the goalies shot into the net, and then if he hit the net, then it was like a 2-on-1, and if he got it in, it was all points based. It was, yeah, I just didn't do it for me. I think other people enjoyed it, but I didn't like that one.
Are having women's players there and goaltenders not trying, I feel like that's bad for women's hockey, and they want to
Oof.
have the reverse effect.
Are you saying
And
that Igor? Are you saying Igor wasn't trying on that?
yeah, I saw that video, and yeah, he definitely did not try.
Yeah, no, I think it's to promote the women's game and everything that great that comes along with that. But yeah, it also kind of makes to them it kind of makes them look like a little bit foolish. Obviously,
Right.
if I had it, why don't you have women goaltender out there? Why is there
Yeah.
not more women events in period? You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
can see that angle, but like don't I don't know that you
I
just picking
prefer an
up.
all-star game between women. Just the best women in the world. Kind of have like a
Yeah,
game that meant something.
get that 14-year-old Czech girl out here. Did you see this kind of stuff that
Yeah.
she's been doing? Like
Yeah.
you couldn't tell me that there's no better way to promote women's hockey than to put her in a game like you just said, in an all-star type environment game with the best women players in the world and
Mhm.
promote that game. You know what I mean? Like because the fans are already there. They're already there seeing the events. They're already there seeing the all-star game. That would kind of just take that to the next level and promote this young phenom who's playing women hockey over in C's right now.
Yeah, I'm all for that because yeah, I saw the picture of Ovi's kid. I like seeing that with Crosby, but other than that, I did not consume a thing, and I heard the Pro Bowl was even worse. So that
Yeah,
is
it's very rare that the Pro Bowl actually debunks the NHL All-Star Weekend. So good for them. Good for Roger Goodell and all his great ideas he's been coming up with.
But I will say this, Shay, the NFL is always in Vegas, the Pro Bowl,
Yep. Yeah, that is a nice feature,
and
not just for the players, but for
I think
fans
the
as well.
NHL take Miami, take Fort Lauderdale. Why does it have to be like? I get it, Toronto's the mecca,
Yeah.
but there's nothing compelling about Toronto in February. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's freezing. I know you're going to a game. That's the only other thing. If you don't have a game to go to, I don't want to be anywhere in Canada. Like I'm miserable right now. We're both here. I wish we were on a beach
Yeah.
somewhere, doing something else. So I think like Ovechkin would go every year if it was in Miami. Like you just said, he'd be down. He's down there anyways. So he's like, okay, I'll pop my head in for a little rum and coke, and I'll jump on the ice at the same time. Otherwise, Matthews will be there, and then the people that are afraid to say I'm not going. But I mean, I think Miami makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. Even like you said, even Fort Lauderdale, somewhere where it's warm, you're going to vacation anyways. All those players are going somewhere warm for their breaks. Why not just make it to somewhere equally as nice, and that way you'll attract it to the players, and everyone will want to go. I agree. That part of the NFL has it right.
Yeah. Tonight, we could see something historic where LeBron James could surpass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most points in NBA history, which
Mm-hmm.
I certainly did not think LeBron would be the one to pass this record, so it's coming as a big surprise to me. What are your just overall big picture thoughts on LeBron breaking this record?
Well, I mean, it's in its own right. You got to pay some respect to Kareem and what he did
Mhm.
for so long, right? Like, I mean, he had a nearly 20-year long season career where he dominated in almost all fashion, right? Almost up to until the end. I think my initial feeling is that it's going to save the Lakers season. It's going to save LeBron's season and make it
Mhm.
meaningful for something. And even though that kind of comes across as a negative, but it's almost 100% true, right? Like they have
Yeah.
no plan. They have no. I don't think they have any chance of winning this year. Ultimately, and this is kind of the bright spot. Oh, remember back in 2023 when LeBron broke, Kareem's record, which if you're right, like 10 years ago, you would have thought that this was the most unachievable record in all of the NBA. Maybe was
Yeah.
reaching this. It didn't matter what LeBron looked like in 2013. You would have thought you would have definitely slowed down, but credit. So that's a credit to him on being such great shape. He's having a career year again at 38. Do you think anyone will ever break this record after LeBron? Say
No,
he plays in, yeah. Say,
I don't think there's a chance because of load management and just NBA players that I don't think love basketball that much anymore.
yeah, yeah. No, exactly. So like, he's going to go for another 2 years, maybe 3 years. Maybe he'll play to 41, just like Kareem did. But yeah, I think it's just incredible, and the fact that he did it. So like, I don't know if you know these stats. Do you know how many assists that Kareem had in his career? If you had to take a jab, just take.
Can't be that many.
It's surprising actually for a guy who's 7'2" and never passed. 5,600 he had.
It's more than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know, me too.
Hmm.
Guess how many LeBron has?
LeBron. I know he's fourth all time because he just passed Vanilla Canada there, Steve Nash the other night.
Extra white chocolate.
10,000.
10,350 assists
Okay.
in the books. So I think that just kind of proves like, I mean, like he's passing the ball obviously twice as much as Kareem, but he's also scoring just as many or more points. So yeah, the longevity, the fact that he's doing it in fewer games, it's going to be unbelievable. The big conspiracy theory is that he doesn't break it tonight, and that he waits till Thursday to break it, and
Yeah.
that those people paying $100,000, $90,000 for tickets are just wasting their money. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. What's it? 38, right? 36, 38 to break.
30, 35, I think it is. I think I jotted it down, but it could be incorrect. It'd be a game. It's not. It's
Okay.
not like.
Yeah. OKC's on a back-to-back. They got crushed last night against Golden
Yes.
State
Yeah.
without Curry. I think he breaks it tonight.
You think he
But
does?
if I know LeBron, he'll score 33 tonight. And because
Yeah.
do you think Kareem goes to the game tonight? Because I think he goes Thursday because they're playing Milwaukee on Thursday.
Yeah. That's why. Yeah, and that's why I think he waits. Then that same as you. I think he gets to 33, and then the people are like, "Yeah, he's going to throw in a sky hook." Because Kareem doesn't like him. Kareem doesn't like LeBron. I don't know if anyone knows
Yeah,
that, or I didn't know you know that, but he's
Kareem
not a
doesn't
big
like
fan of
some
himself.
people.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. Yeah, he's not the most friendly old man. So yeah, he'll do it at the beginning of the game. The commentators and all the, Adam Silver will ooh and ah over him all game long, even as they get crushed by Giannis. It's on TNT. It makes more sense for him to do it Thursday, but
It's on
I could.
TNT tonight too.
Oh, okay, yeah. I just feel like there's more. It'd be more special if he did it in Milwaukee where Kareem played.
Right. I was gonna say if he like sat tonight out, like street clothes tonight.
Imagine.
I mean,
How upset would you be if you just were like, yeah, my life savings, I'll retire when I'm 80 or 90, but I got to see LeBron break the record.
right.
Nope, not a
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah, he'll play tonight, but it wouldn't shock me if it's like 5 minutes before and you hear Woj tweets out, "Yeah, he tweaked his knee and and shoot around."
Yeah, yeah.
um, is this getting enough talk? Because I'm thinking about it, and Michael Jordan, he hasn't played in forever, but he still is around the league. He hovers around the NBA. And I'm just wondering if people aren't giving it the amount of love because people still feel like LeBron is a lesser than the original 2-3.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. I feel like it's definitely picked up this week and this
Mhm.
weekend as we moved more closely to it. But I would say this season, if you were to look at the beginning, it definitely wasn't an objective of the season to say, oh yeah, LeBron's going to pass Kareem. I didn't see any headlines there. As for Jordan, yeah, I mean Jordan still obviously holds, I think, the best player title maybe when it comes to that race. I mean that's a debate for a whole nother podcast, but I think it definitely gives LeBron more of a. I think it gives him more of an aura. Like, yeah, like this guy kind of accomplished what most people when it's kind of like Ovi. If we compare that Ovi to with his goals to Wayno, you never
Mhm.
thought it was going to happen. That this guy, it was a record that was unbreakable, and the chosen one, we'll call it the chosen one in each sport, kind of breaks it. So Yeah, and then LeBron will have his moments. He'll have his historically bad finals record, and he'll always maybe shame him behind him. But this is something he'll be able to keep his hat on for quite some time, I think.
Yeah, certainly. And like you said, there doesn't help that it's Super Bowl week and also that they're
Yeah.
13th in the West.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that Kyrie kind of blew up the NBA with one single announcement.
Right. So let's pivot into that. Kyrie Irving, in just Kyrie Irving fashion, demands a trade from the Brooklyn Nets on Friday. And by Sunday night, he's a Dallas Maverick. Your initial reaction to the trade and what it means for both sides.
My initial reaction is, why would anyone do this to themselves? Why would Mark Cuban do this to himself? He seems like such a smart businessman. But if we're talking about from the Mavericks' point of view, it was not. It was on this podcast. We talked to this probably a year ago, or maybe even at the beginning of the season, what they lacked, and that was another guy playing beside Luka. As good as Luka is, maybe he likes being the guy. Maybe he likes being the only guy on that team, right? He can't do it all by himself. I don't think he can win a championship with the team he has around him. So he needed another piece. The best description in my mind and the best quote I can keep thinking of, it's a long shot, but it's still a shot. You know what I mean? Right. So who knows? And can Kyrie spread his cancer within 4 months of this team? Maybe he can. Maybe he can't. I don't know. He's got some superpowers that are, or maybe some superpowers or bad guy powers that we don't really see very often.
Yeah, he's something else. I would not want anything to do with him. And I think for Brooklyn, the best thing that they can say, I think they got the best deal that they could for him. I hear people saying, well, they didn't trade with the Lakers out of spite. The Lakers deal isn't that compelling. Like, okay, give me Russell Westbrook, who Kevin Durant hates.
Yeah.
And who Austin Reeves, like I'm Austin Reeves, like a white stretch forward. Like, come on, I don't want him undrafted out of Oklahoma. Like they don't play basketball at Oklahoma. It's a football school. Come on,
it's football state.
Yeah, like, I like Finney Smith. I think he's good. I think Dinwiddie is what he is, but he knows what he is, and that's a valuable thing in and of itself in a teammate. Mm-hmm. So I think for this year, I don't think Brooklyn's dead. I think with the team that they have, they can try to improve their roster, but I also think they could win around with the team that they have right now.
Yeah, I still think they need, and we spoke about this, and we'll get to this later, another guard, and we'll tease for a little later in this episode. Mm-hmm. But it's not a bad team. No, you're right. You still have Ben Simmons, who's Ben Simmons. When KD's playing, he's a great player still, and he could definitely. Drop my phone there. He could definitely take over a game or even a series if you really wanted to. But yeah, like those guys are both depth players, and we have our new favorite player, me and your guy, Cam Thomas, the guy who doesn't smile. He's like the opposite of the Joker. He just can't. He's all frowns all day. But if he's dropping 47, then you let that guy frown for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he almost single-handedly beat the Clippers last night with their full team. So
that's what I mean.
Yeah, playing Joker from the Austin Reeves off the bench for Brooklyn last night. But yeah, I like the team. Would you rather have Dinwiddie or Fred VanVleet for the rest of the year?
Probably Fred. I think just with the experience, I think going in, especially if you were a playoff team. If you were not a playoff team, it may be a different story, but he does have that little bit of experience going in the run in 2019. He seems like a good leader, a good teammate. I can't speak to that of Spencer. I don't really know his game all that well. He probably is both of those things, but I just know for a fact that Fred could do that. Is it all on Kyrie though? We got to think about and hear me out. Yeah, it sounds a little crazy as it comes out of my mouth.
Okay.
Do we have to blame Brooklyn's ownership / management system over the last 3-4 years?
I think we have to blame their ownership for giving Kyrie and Kevin Durant as much power as they did.
Really?
I think even when they signed the contracts, basically said do whatever you wanted. And it started the second they got them because they chose DeAndre Jordan when they could have had was it Jared Allen? Yeah, another one of our guys. They could have kept Jared Allen. They said, no, bring us DJ, who was washed 5 years ago. So it started then, and then it just, the pandemic certainly didn't help it because that was a whole other mess. But
Yeah, they can't, and you can't predict that. Obviously, an ownership can't predict how their players are
yeah,
going to react to that action. But
right.
yeah, it is crazy. Like I just think about how they brought in James Harden for a little bit, got rid
Mm,
of him, yeah, brought in Street Clothes, aka Ben Simmons, and it's just baffling to me like how they make these really weird moves. And like I get it, in their mind they think this is the best opportunity we can do right now, but like
yeah,
the door is just rotating in and out of the Barclays Center. It feels like it just feels very messy, and I wouldn't want to be part of an organization like that. And on top of that, it's not like Kyrie is the first superstar to say I want out of there. Like, we're not going to pretend KD months ago said,
yep,
yeah, I also want to trade, and did not get one.
right. It was reported just about a little bit before we came on that Kevin Durant's unlikely to be traded for the trade deadline, so he'll stay in Brooklyn. Does that make you happy or disappointed as a Celtics fan?
I'm happy with it. I'm not. I was with the way things shook last season and what we give up for Kevin Durant. I was more attractive to get him. I would acquire him last season than this season. I just think the team is so solid. They're playing in such unity right now, even though, as they say that, they blew like a 23-point lead last night. But still, they have such too many bright spots and too many, great guys in the lineup. And I feel like Kevin Durant would be, an easy two first round picks, Marcus Smart, possibly Robert Williams. And I just couldn't part with all those pieces. If it was the less of, fine. But he's not a rental. He's on his contract for another 3 years or 2 years after this one, I guess.
Mhm.
It'd be tough to just part with everything and say, okay, we have a great big three. We're going to get it done. Those super teams do not always work. You see it in Miami. You saw it in Golden State. Sometimes you just lose to better teams.
Yeah, I I think the Celtics need to do something. I don't know if it had to be that drastic because Milwaukee's starting to wake up here, and
And 76ers, they're good too. Can't throw them
yeah,
out.
they're
You don't like the 7-6.
I wish I liked them more because they have another one of my favorites, Tyrese Maxey. They only play him 12 minutes a night. Christ's sake. The Knicks beat them the other day. The Knicks. I watched that game Sunday night. My Knicks crushed them.
You got to let one go once in a while. I don't know. It's going to be good because I think both Milwaukee and both the 76ers will add. I think they won't be stagnant. I think they both know they have a chance to beat Boston. But you're right.
Mhm.
It's like, how does Brad Stevens react to that? Does he go out and grab somebody? I've been saying for a while, and another big off the bench. I love him, but Blake Griffin is just he's long in the tooth, we'll call it. And seeing
Yeah,
him night in, night out is not helping.
right. And do you think the Celtics are better than Milwaukee right now? 7 game series, do you think they'd win it?
Yes. I'm so confident in that. Absolutely.
If Middleton's healthy for 7 games, you still win it?
I think it goes 7, but I would still be on there. But like I said, I think Milwaukee's adding. If the two teams were as is, I still think Boston could beat them. Absolutely.
No, I don't
I
think
know
so.
you don't feel the same way, but that's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
I just I know you love number 0,
Yeah.
and he was a 0 in the final, so that's good. That's a fair representation. He's a good player,
Yeah.
but he's 5th or 6th in the MVP race. There's no shame in that.
No. Not when you're surrounded by a great team, and they are.
He is. So is Jakob Pertl? I think that would be a really good ad for the Celtics because I think he can play
Hmm.
starting minutes and plus Robert Williams is another street clothes esque because he seems to get hurt every
He
2-3 weeks.
he's he's tapping his toes in that category. Yes.
So if you could get a center that's a reserve but that could also start easily, that would be a great ad for the Celtics.
Absolutely. And I mean, we'll get to all those guys and who we think they have. I have a whole page here of guys. I'm like, this guy could go here. This guy is possible to go here.
Right.
He might go here though, and this is what they could give back. So we'll get to that. whenever you're ready. But yeah, absolutely, a backup guy like that. Guy I really liking, who I think will be moved, is Mason Plumlee from Charlotte. Just a
Mm-hmm.
very active, very strong, fitted guy. Decent rebounder, and he's improved his game year in year out. I think he'd be unbelievable. And I think about him a lot when Denver a couple of years ago had him off their bench, and he was just such a great fit.
Right.
If they because one thing Boston loves to do, and I don't know if you know this, they love to just throw the ball up. They lob it constantly. Robert Williams, yeah, we're gonna throw you up. We're gonna throw it up. And
Right.
Plumlee would be a great fit to that kind of scheme because he does that so well. He's so athletic. He gets up there all the time.
Yeah, he's interesting. I was watching Sunday afternoon. I had nothing to do because I was watching the Magic and Hornets
Ooh.
2 o'clock tip, and Plumlee was out there, and yeah, he's an interesting one. He'd be a good backup big. I agree with you. He'd work for the Celtics. I think he could work for Milwaukee too, because I don't think it would be bad for them to pick up another big. Because Brook Lopez is great, but they could use some more help.
Agree with that.
What about OG? Where's the best fit for OG and Anunoby?
I have OG. Well, speaking of, this would be an ideal fit for them, and this would probably make them one of the better defensive teams in the league, if not the best. But if he went to Milwaukee, I mean that puts them over the hump against any other team in my mind. You get a player like that, as long as he's on board with what they've got going on, I
Mhm.
think it would work. The problem is I don't know what Milwaukee be willing to give back in that trade, which
Right.
scares me.
Yeah.
Like, is Middleton going back? Is it, is it some picks? Is it a combination of, bench players? I'm not sure, but he would fit really, really well, I think, in that rotation as a defensive unit.
What about Memphis?
So he's coming off the bench, you mean? Or do you give up Desmond Bane's spot? How does that work?
You trade Desmond Bain.
You trade Desmond Bain. I
Yeah.
like it because they need help defensively. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not. No one's kidding. After the Shannon Sharp issue, Memphis has been
They're
terrible. Like one of the worst teams
awful.
in the league.
Yeah. My Kings are catching up.
Oh, desperately. And Memphis can't just they can't just figure it out. Like I think Memphis's deal is that they think they're tougher than they actually are, and this
Yes.
includes John Moran, 100%.
Yeah.
They need to
What the
tone.
Memphis Grizzlies are is they're a 5'8" guy that
Yeah,
believes they're 6'4".
yeah, basically, and like that's their attitude. They basically they're going to the bar to look for a fight, and
Right.
like you're getting your ass whooped. Let's be honest. Like
Yeah.
they lost to Toronto, who's not good, and
Nope.
that's not a shocker. They've lost to some other really really poor teams that they just need to win. Like because the stretch is going to get harder and harder down the road, and
Mhm.
they're just letting. I feel like they're just letting it slide. Like they put themselves in such a great position in the first half of the season. I don't know why they would try and put on this tough guy act if it's only hurting them. Like I wish their coach would just like read them in together, but I feel like it's kind of as a team they got to figure it out.
And I think the Raptors, they'll want more than I think just Desmond. They'll get more because you got to work out salaries and everything. But I think that would be enticing to them because Desmond Bane's a very good NBA player.
Yeah,
It's not a
absolutely.
hope thing. You get a player that's going to be on your roster and who's under contract.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what you want. Regardless of where your team moves, I mean, he's an asset, right? And if he's
Mhm.
not great, say if you got your tank next year, well, guess what? You're going to move him and you're going to get more. You're probably going to get a first round pick, for being honest.
What about the Clippers?
What do they need, or what are they getting rid of?
Could they get out? Could they make an attempt for OG?
Um, yeah, I think so. It fits there. Him and Kawhi have a little bit of a connection, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, they have assets. One thing about Clippers, I mean, I've said this, they were one of my picks at the beginning of the year to go all the way. They have
Hmm.
more assets than anybody to move right now. You think about it,
Yeah.
you got Powell, Terrence Mann, Reggie Jackson, John Wall, most of those guys coming off the bench, let alone. They got my boy Zoo, who absolutely adore. That guy's
Yeah. He's a
just a
beast.
machine. He's a
Yeah.
machine. No, I think that's a fit that could work because when you think about some of the best defensive teams in the league ever.
Mm-hmm.
Kawhi Leonard's name's going to be on most of those teams. The San Antonio Spurs, the Toronto Raptors. He realizes that it's not just all offense, and he has become such a great two-way player. And I think that adding to that would just be like that would just put them over the edge too. And because Clippers have had this weird year, right? They're up and down in the standings. They've got injuries constantly, but yeah, it's going to be funny. And OG's hurt right now too, so you're basically trading for an injured player.
Yeah, he's already been ruled out for the game against the Spurs coming up. Any guards available that you think that could be on the move before Tuesday at 4:00?
I really thought your Utah Jazz were going to take a bigger step, but they kind of announced that Clarkson and Conley, two veteran guards, are not really on the market. What's up with that? Like, if I was Utah, I'm not trying to keep Mike Conley. I'm sorry, he's 35.
Yeah,
He's
I'll take packing tape for Mike Conley.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm not that desperate. I think he would be a good backup guard. He's a veteran. He's played in the league for a long time. Do they could get something for him? You know what I mean? If it's a far out
I bet
like
the Clippers
prospect.
would take him, and I bet he'd start on that team.
Yeah, that's kind of the Clippers strategy. They benched like that game you mentioned in Brooklyn. They had Terrence Mann play and Richie Jackson, John Wall both sat on the bench.
Yeah, John Wall doesn't play much
Yeah,
anymore.
no, no, he does not.
The Jordan Clarkson, I think teams would love to have a Jordan Clarkson. I think they trade more than probably they want to because they get desperate, if you know what I mean, and they get a
Yeah.
better haul. And I like him, but he's a bench, he's a six man,
Hmm.
and that's what he's going to be. But I could think, the Eastern Conference is tough because I think if you're Boston, Milwaukee, maybe the Sixers.
Take
But
him,
other
yeah.
than that, I think it gets real thin. Like, I think Brooklyn can win a round, but I mean Indiana's not going on a run, and the
No.
Miami Heat aren't going
What
anywhere.
about your Knicks? Would that work? Would a Clarkson be? Would he fit there? Could you see that?
Yeah, if they wanted to say part with Quickly and trade him to Utah, I like Quickly too. I think he's a good player.
Yeah, he's emerged this year. He's kind of that. I don't know.
He's young. You could trade him and some ass. Maybe D Rose goes in the trade. They buy him out. He ends up back somewhere else.
Yeah, it works. It works. Kyle Lowry reports that their Heat are willing to ship him. He's on an unbelievably massive contract, which is not a not a shock to anybody.
Right.
The biggest thing T Wolves Clippers where like that like who's taking this guy in that contract?
I don't think he gets traded.
Think so you think he's in Miami living it up for the next 2 years?
I just don't see he's got another year, right? It's a
Yeah.
player option, so he's gonna opt in because he's
Oh,
never gonna.
absolutely. Yeah.
So, um, yeah, T Wolves have made enough dumb decisions. Don't keep doubling down on
I say that because I just feel like they need like I don't they just need like
yeah,
a veteran or something. Like Conley
right.
would work there too. Conley's a veteran guard. Like get someone like that.
Here's the only way I could see it happening. But I think Pat Riley would hate the player that I'm proposing to trade for so much, so I don't think he'd do it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Kyle Lowry in a package, it would be more than this coming from Miami for D'Angelo Russell going back to the Heat.
Okay.
But I think
Yeah.
he'd hate D'Angelo Russell so much, Pat Riley.
Yeah. I
He's
hate
so
to.
inconsistent, and for 6 weeks he's the best player in the NBA, and for the next 6 he plays 18 minutes a night. So I think he would be so much of a Duncan Robertson, Tyler Hero that he'd want to kill him. He's just not white. I think that's the only difference.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. There's options, but obviously when you got a cap size that bad, it's just difficult.
Tough.
Um,
Yeah.
who else do I got down here? Zach LaVine. Chicago has
Mm,
been taking marks on him. Obviously, he's a scoring two guard.
yeah.
Don't you think of dunk contest? You think of three. For me, I think of 3 pointers slash a striker that goes in there and is able to really leap over guys because he's just got great hops. Where could you see him ending up? That I mean, obviously, if he does go anywhere, so which means he might not, he would be. You got to think he'd be a contender. I think.
Right, because he'll be a free agent in the off season, so he'll likely want to opt out to get a new deal. Even, but again, he's got his knee problems, but he'll probably still get a
True.
contract if he has a good playoff run. This make too much sense. Another injured player that the Knicks.
Yeah, I could see the Knicks being dumb
I could
enough
see
to
the
do
Knicks
that.
doing this. I played for Tibbs
Yeah,
twice.
that's true.
Yeah, he's played for Tibbs before, so I think Tibbs would like him. I think the Knicks are a decent team. They just kind of need a reset. I think Tibbs obviously hates Canada's own RJ Barrett. He hates playing him, so he's not working out at the Mecca.
Could you see it?
I take RJ back in a trade. I'd take a chance on him.
All right, so RJ for Levine straight up, something like that.
Yeah, maybe D Rose in the deal goes
Ooh,
back to Chicago. Swan
yeah, I could
song.
see it. I could see
Yeah,
it. Yeah, no, I mean it does work, right? Like I feel like Levine he needs a new environment. I feel like he's being smothered by D Rose. He doesn't like the fact that they're not a contender,
yeah.
but
And if you're
maybe
the
that's
Bulls, I think you should trade him because we've talked about this before, but who gives a shit about 10th? 10th is so I hate 10th. I don't want it. You
yeah.
know,
It's
just to
just
get in, just to say you got in, that doesn't do me any good.
yeah, there's no Cinderella stories in the NBA. If you're not a top four team, you really don't got it, I'd say. I mean,
Yeah.
I could be wrong in saying that, but I feel like it's
If
usually
you're in the West, I understand it a little bit more
yeah,
because I think if you're say Dallas finishes fourth and you've the fifth or your three, I think you have a better chance. I think you have a puncher's chance. If you play Boston 1-8, you're not beating Boston. You're not
yeah.
beating Milwaukee.
Dale
Maybe
Sutter, it's a waste of 8 days.
maybe the Sixers because your boy Doc Rivers will find a way to screw it up 3-1 because he loves to do that. But no, I mean I don't see it that way. Would you trade DeRozan if you got a good like if you're the
Oh,
Lakers, you trade the 2027 and 2029 first for a player like DeMar. Westbrook
no.
Westbrook goes back in the trade to Chicago.
I still have a hard time seeing it just because I just think the Lakers season's just hopeless. Like I
Yeah.
think they're waiting for the next 2-3 days to have their to rejoice LeBron, and then
Mhm.
the rest of the season's like okay, we'll desperately look like we're trying to make it into the playoffs, but know that we will not go anywheres. But
Don't they have to
maybe
do something for LeBron? Because he did that sit down with Mike Wilbon yesterday, and he's like disappointed. He said that they didn't get Kyrie, and he's trying to be happy about breaking the record. And but he said it's hard to because basically that the team sucks. So I feel like he's trying to put as much pressure as possible on Rob Pelinka to do something.
yeah, and because of that, I could see them pulling a trigger. What does Demar have left? A year, or does he have a couple of years left on
I
a
think two,
decent
yeah,
contract?
maybe one after this one, I believe. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, maybe then. Like that way, you could say for LeBron ruins the Lakers for the next 10 years. I mean, we know that. But at
yeah.
least if you're the GM, you're saying you did everything you could to possibly give this team a chance to win, which I could respect that because right now they're just not going anywhere. They're just like running in place.
Warriors. Did they do anything at the
Mm,
deadline?
I think you have to. I think you have to now. Is Curry's injury serious or?
At least 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't put them in a position to say, to panic and, eject. But I
Hmm.
mean, even then, I think they should get somebody. I think a Plumlee would work well there. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? I realize they play small ball, but still, like having a guy like that just to grab rebounds, and I don't know. You send Wiseman back, maybe
Hmm.
Wiseman and Kaminga, maybe. I'm not sure how that works. You have some assets to trade. You don't have a ton, and you don't have a ton
Caruso.
of what's that?
Caruso.
Yeah, well, he's the main destination, right? He's the guy that I think they really want, and I think he fits really well there. He comes
Yeah.
off the bench. He's a good presence. He kind of replaces the Gary Paytons that you mentioned,
Hmm.
the Otto Porters, kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a player like that would, and he's even a improvement. I think on both of those players. When he's on the floor, he's an impact player. I mean, that's just a fact, right? So
Right.
what do they give up for him? I think Kaminga's a minimum,
Yeah. I
probably.
yeah. See, that's the thing. Kuminga's the one I'd want to keep the most because I think he's
I
got the
know,
most
but this I
upside.
can't. I wouldn't be happy saying Caruso for Wiseman straight up or
No, me either. Me either.
DiVincenzo. Like I don't know. Like it's.
Give you Moody.
Yeah, I don't want Moody either. But yeah, I mean it's tough because obviously they're not parting with their big four,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I agree with you. I don't think they want to part with Kaminga, but if you can get a guy like Caruso, that will be he's a game changer, and he doesn't
yeah,
sound like a game changer, but he's very sneaky good at a lot of different things that don't always show up on score sheets.
yeah. Do the Raptors trade anymore? Obviously, we've talked about OG.
Yeah.
Do you think Van Fleet's gone by Thursday afternoon?
Yeah, I think so. Kind of sad to think about, but I do see Van Fleet being departed, and if not now, I think he'll depart in the next season for sure. Like whatever, if it's over the summer or something like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just think the Raptors know the direction they're going in, and I'd be surprised if a lot of the bodies that are there right now would still remain there. I think they just kind of have to because being in this really weird position where they're 23 and 27, like that's you're not exactly going to get a great draft pick in a
Yeah,
good draft. But yeah, that's why I think I if I was the GM, I'm looking at this and saying what is the most I can get for Van Fleet and OG, analyzing whether that's worth it and whether I can sell this to the fan base, and if not, then I just probably keep them and sell them this summer.
right. Plus, you got to look around. If they have Siakam, who fringe All Star didn't make it, but I think he easily could have.
I think you should have, yeah.
Rosen, I'm not so sure. All Star. If you have him and you have Scotty Barnes, that's a good place to start on a rebuild. You're not a complete rebuild because you have two really good NBA players on your roster.
Yeah, yeah. And Siakam, I mean, you can't. What is Siakam going to say? Oh, I really want to win a championship. Well, you won one
Right.
4 years ago. Like it's not like you really. If you want to be the number one guy and you want to be this top 5 player, like you said you wanted to be, well,
Mm-hmm.
that part of that does come with being responsible for being part of this rebuild and
Yeah.
owning up for that. If not, you gotta see the exit door. And it's also whether they want to pay him the max too, right? Like
Yeah.
ultimately that's where his contract's going and the way he's playing.
How fast does Nick Nurse get on the hot seat in Toronto?
Ooh, I think pretty quick.
I
You
don't, I
mean
don't know. I think the players are starting to get kind of sick of him.
yeah, because when they're winning, he's
Mhm.
great, but when they're losing, it feels like a whole nother universe over there. And I
Yeah.
think I can see it. I haven't heard very many good things this season. It seems like I think last season was fine because here we are, we're a playoff team. We
Right.
got some good things happening. This year, I feel like it's been a full 180, and it's like, okay, get this guy off my back. What the hell is he screaming at me for? We're
Why do I
not.
have to play 42 minutes?
Yeah, well, that's it, right? Like he doesn't play he doesn't play his bench players as much, right? Like
No.
he has his collective punch, and that's it.
Yeah, it's interesting. 'Cause you get a championship, it buys you some time, but eventually everybody has a shelf life. Brad Stevens left. He's still in the Celtics, but he left the bench because I think the players were sick of him, and obviously they went in a different direction since, and it's been for the better either candidate. Yeah, I think this trade deadline will either be awesome or nothing's going to happen.
Well,
That's my read on it right
yeah,
now.
I see. I thought last year was going to be very absent and very not but
Yeah.
then it felt like the end, like you had the Sabonis and Halliburton trade, and
Mhm.
I feel like a bunch of guys just started to shift around. Norman Powell got traded, so like
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's interesting, right? Because I see teams with so much potential to move pieces. One guy I didn't mention that could be moved. I think he's a great player. He's a good young player, but Bones Nyland from
Hmm.
Denver,
Hmm.
he's an asset that you can be like, yeah, this guy could possibly start for our team, for our franchise for years and years. And Denver can either, upgrade that to Kelly Oubre Jr., Jordan Clarkson type player, or they can just keep him and hope that he's good enough in the playoffs when they need him to be, right? So it's interesting, and there's a bunch of teams like that have assets who I think they should move.
Kelly Olynyk should be traded somewhere too. He's valuable. He's a good playoff
Yeah,
performer.
yeah. I wouldn't want him back on the Celtics, but Yeah, I do agree. I think he's worth something
Got
to
you to a conference
someone.
final on his back.
What's that?
He got you to a conference final just on his back
Oh
alone.
yeah. Okay. Let's settle down. That was my boy Isaiah Thomas. He was pumping out the summer threes.
Isaiah Thomas.
Great player.
Yeah, for 5 minutes. No, he was fine. He was good. He had a Nate Robinson type career arc where he was great for short, no pun intended, period of time. We talked about Kyrie Irving off the top,
Yeah.
and this fueled us to ponder just what kind of person Kyrie Irving is, and to be specific, what kind of teammate he is. And we both are of the opinion that he's a really bad teammate. He might be one of the worst in sports history. And I thought, well, let's do our top 5 worst teammates that we can remember in the history of pro sports.
Hmm.
So we both love a list. How fun was this list in creating this one for you?
It was a ton of fun. I very rarely do a ton of research the night before, but last night I was laying in bed and I'm just like on my laptop writing names down. Oh, this guy. Wow, this guy's a little worse than this guy. Oh, he did this to this player. That's interesting. So, yeah,
Right.
no, it was no doubt fun. I don't know if you recognize this. It was easier to make this list
Hmm.
than the list we did a few months ago when we did the best teammates. Where if anyone didn't listen, we both had Tim Duncan as our top teammate
Right.
of pro sports. But it was way easier making this one. So it's kind of funny because I think that means there's probably more bad teammates than there are good teammates.
Yeah. My number one was easy. I will say that. That was an easy one for me to fill in.
Okay. Did you know, or you just had to think of the list and you're like, yeah, this guy, no doubt.
Yeah, he came to mind right away when I thought of the list, and it's not Kyrie Irving. There's a little tease, but
Okay.
we can kick us off with number 5. Who do you have as number 5 worst teammates of all time?
Number 5 for me, this is coming a little bit of surprise, but if you know the player, I don't think it's much of one because he's just such a hothead. DeMarcus Cousins. Old Boogie Cousins.
Yeah,
Once upon a time, a great up and coming center.
yeah,
Sacramento Kings could have been. I don't think a dynasty, but they could have been a contending player. I think if they would have kept that core. And left there. He got traded to New Orleans, I believe, where
mhm,
him and AD I don't think always saw eye to eye. And yeah, this is a guy who constantly, when I think of DeMarcus Cousins, the first thing I think of is getting teed up, and
yep.
then his teammates being like, because ultimately you're a bad teammate if you're constantly getting the technical fouls. Because let's be honest, you're
You're
only
putting
hurting
your
your
team in a
team.
bad position, yeah.
Yeah, you're getting the free throws, you're getting booted out of the game, which happens a lot to our good friend Boogie Cousins, fan of the
Mhm.
show. And yeah, like constantly fighting. He fought with fans. Like if he just a guy who couldn't hold his temper. And there's just so many bad stories about him, and I feel like he'd be such a frustrating teammate to play with because you're like, why are you such a hothead, dude? Just relax.
Right.
And obviously, evident by the amount of transition he had. If you're with one team your entire career, it's a good chance that you're either a franchise player or you're a good teammate. So Boogie Cousins was neither of those things.
And it seemed like whenever he tore his Achilles, his teammates didn't really feel all that bad for him.
Yeah. Oh, how do you feel about DeMarcus being out? No, he's still
Not that he's
here.
doing every day.
Yeah, so he still shows up, but he's at the game sometimes. No,
Yeah,
yeah, I agreed. Yeah, no one really felt too bad about the old boot wrapped around his leg.
that's a good one. My number 5 is a deeper cut, but I'll explain it.
Okay.
Number 5 is Radim Verbata, a former NHL player. Radim Verbata is known for the fake injury. He's known for skipping a game because of a light headache. He's known for saying he has a groin pull and then going out to a bar and getting drunk and dancing that same night. And I get this mainly from Jeff O'Neill, the O Dog of Overdrive fame, who played with him and said he was one of the worst teammates he's ever had because of all these things and just the laziness he played with. a very talented player that did not really want to work that hard. He was a guy that would play the whole game, not have to take a shower, and you'd just be able to leave the rink, just take the gear off and go.
Hmm.
So that's the worst thing when you're playing sports and you see somebody and they're finished the game, and you look over and they're completely bare. You hate that guy.
Yeah.
And then if they go have a more fun time that night than you do, then you really hate that guy. So Radim Verbata came to mind for me at number
Yeah,
5.
yeah. The O Dog calls it as it is, so I believe you. I know the name, I don't know the player as much, but
Yeah,
that's interesting. No shower after the game. That's a tough look. That's a
yeah,
tough look. I don't
it's
know.
tough.
Even the fourth liners, I think, would take a shower. Do you play 2 minutes?
You got to, you got to.
Yeah, you just hop in just to get wet, and then okay, it looks like I did something.
Do you think?
That's an iffy.
Do you think the NBA guys who are in street clothes, because healthy scratches, I guess, but healthy scratches actually have to work out between periods, so it's actually too
Yes,
much if you're
true.
a healthy scratch. Do you think they shower after they sit on the bench for the couple hours, or no?
Yeah, you mean the guys who are doing the dance moves and the dramatic stuff on the bench? You're talking about those guys?
No, I'm
Or
saying like Ben Simmons when he's wearing his Gucci whatever, and he's.
oh
Do you think
no,
he
bet
showers?
no. Ben Simmons is not showering. No. He thinks he looks too good to get
Right,
himself wet after a game, I think.
right,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, that being said, I think there are probably a handful of players who are like, yeah, they're sticking around, talking to the guys after the game, not getting on the PJ right away.
I think Blake Griffin would take a shower. He wants to be one of the boys.
I sure hope so, because if he's out there every 5 games, he
Yeah,
better be showering the rest of them.
yeah. Who
Yeah,
do you have
no,
at
that's
number
interesting.
4?
Yeah, number 4, and this plays into yours because you don't have to get into altercations with your teammates
Mm-hmm.
and coaches to be a bad teammate. You just have to hurt
Right,
the team. Manny
right.
Ramirez.
I like.
Manny Ramirez. Most people think of this, think, oh, great Boston player, great Boston Red Sox,
Yeah.
historic. Manny Ramirez is just a different cat, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how you have to say it. Ultimately, what happened with Manny Ramirez, he quit on his team. He quit on the Red Sox, and he did something I've never heard of before. He did the old SO or walk. He struck out or walk every time he went to the plate. That's a strategy if I ever saw one.
Yep.
And just very shocking. He clearly wanted out of the Red Sox organization. He would go into the green. Sometimes he would just go into the green monster and just mess around with the cards, move stuff around, say hi to the guys, not play the game. Sometimes just talking to the fans, rolling around. Like there's just so many. If you look him up, he's just a different guy. But ultimately, bad teammate, bad on the list because he was such a poopy pants about being traded and not being where he wanted to be that he just let go of every desire to help his team. And I think that's ultimately one of the worst things you can do to a team.
Right. Yeah, and you think, okay, well, it's a divide. There's a different language barrier, all that. David Ortiz was loved Boston. They're the same nationality. He loved it. And Manny Ramirez, like, it's a strategy, and I think you hate this person as a teammate if they go up there and they only swing to hit a home run. Like, I would hate that person
Sammy
because
Sosa. Yeah.
if I was sitting on third base and I know you can drive me in with a single that you can easily hit, and you swing out of your pants, I'd start to hate you.
Yeah.
Like I would. I would really. I think during that Bonds Sosa,
McGuire.
I don't think they're really. Well, I know Barry Bonds wasn't that well liked. He wasn't on my.
No.
You almost
No.
made my list because he was kind of a dick. He was
Yeah.
known for being an asshole. And yeah, I like Manny Ramirez. I like that one from you.
Honorable, yeah, we'll just say honorable mention on both our lists. Got to be Barry Bonds.
Yes.
Probably one of the most self-centered,
Yeah.
egotistic maniacs in all sports.
Number 4, it's also a baseball player for me.
Okay.
And this one's another little deeper cut, but he came to mind when I was doing research and thinking of the list. It's Jonathan Papelbon. And if you hear that name and you don't know who Jonathan Papelbon is, you're going to remember. In 2017, Washington Nationals, Bryce Harper's just coming off winning an MVP. They're having a down season, and Harper comes back to the dugout, and he's just struck out for the third time and fourth at bats for the day. Jonathan Papelbon is the closer for the Nationals. He says something to Bryce Harper. He's known for being a complete snap show, just a complete lunatic. He had punched 2 teammates prior stints. Harper didn't like it. What happens? He grabs Bryce Harper by the throat. You'll remember this. He grabs him, shoves him against the side
Oh,
of the
yes.
dugout, and you had to be separated. He was cut the next day. He was then added to a new team 2 weeks later, where he was kicked off that team for kicking somebody. This guy was a lunatic, was drafted to be one of the best closers in baseball. Never happened because his temper got the better of him.
What an idiot.
Yeah.
Like you might get away with that doing that to say a lesser known player. You do that
Yeah.
to your star player.
The
That's
number
like
one
if
pick in the draft. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like if old Jeff Petrie grabbed Sidney Crosby by the throat and said, "What are you doing,
Right.
dude? You're out of there the next. You should have been out of there that night. Like he should have been cut minutes after that game.
Yeah.
Just a bizarre move. And you're right, snap shows, man. That's kind of just derails your career.
Another honorable mention for me. I don't think he'll be on your list. Trevor Bauer came to mind
Oh,
for me
yeah, big
for
time.
a number of reasons, but also when Terry Francona looked for the baseball and Trevor Bauer threw it into the 18th row in one of the funnier things I've ever seen, but also one of the most unprofessional things I've
Yeah,
ever seen.
yeah. You cannot think of Trevor Bauer and think of a very like I don't know,
Good
professional
person.
guy. Yeah, or good quality person.
Yeah.
Probably why he's out of the league.
Yeah.
Um, number 3 for me. Oh, number 3, sorry.
Yeah.
Hockey player. Sean Avery.
He almost made my, he was real close for me too.
This one was tight for me, but then I thought about all the bad things that he did.
Yeah.
Sean Avery was easily one of the least liked players in the league
Yep.
overall. I mean, that's a
Yep.
given. But think about how many times he got into a scruff and his teammates had to bail him out.
Right. Because he wouldn't fight.
There's no other player, and he deserved to get his face beat in multiple times. Let's admit it. But his teammates would constantly come in and face him, so they're getting dummied by a guy who's probably 6'4", 6'5", because Sean Avery's going up to him and hit him in the nads, hitting him in the back of the legs. And let's be honest, like what did I forget the players coming off the time he hit up he tried to entice one of the players. The player turned away and then he socked him in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think that's not going to cause a row in the other team? Like give me a break, pal.
Yeah.
And God forbid he was loved by Rangers Nation because that was the only team that could ever stand him. I think
Yeah.
whatsoever. He said just a short stint in Dallas. He had the sloppy seconds comment. Like,
Yeah.
he's a low quality human being, but I just feel like as a teammate, you would just be so sick and tired of this guy in and out, like
Yeah.
just drive you nuts. So yeah,
I agree with you because normally you think, well, this guy's such a good teammate. You'd love him to have on your team. Yes, but to a certain extent. Like Brad Marchand, yes,
right.
because he's
Yeah.
really good and he will answer the bell. Sean Avery would get in shit and then he'd squawk away or he'd start beaking. And then, like you said, Derek Bogard, who was on his team at the time, God rest his soul, had to fight all the time because of Sean Avery. And maybe this isn't fair, but maybe he'd be alive if he didn't have to. But I mean, it's sometimes enough is enough. Like Max Lapierre is another one that comes to mind for me. He would never fight that fucking rat. And
Yeah.
I would hate him as a team because I have to get involved in this again tonight. Could I not just play a game, try to score a
Yeah.
goal? And yeah, I don't think Henrik Lundqvist has come out and he said he didn't like him, and he was on the team at the time. And
And
I think Lundqvist stood up. He agreed with Brodeur at the time as well when Brodeur was going through his thing with Avery. Lundqvist, who's the most professional person on earth, didn't like his teammate Sean Avery.
yeah, there you go. And if Hank doesn't like you, I think there's good reason to do
Yes.
so. Who is number 3 on your list? We're closing in here.
This one might be this one's an interesting one for me. I have Scottie Pippen, number 3 for me.
Okay. I
Scottie
got to
Pippen
hear this.
is a champion, yes. Scottie Pippen, great defensive player. Yes. But if we recall, Scottie Pippen quit on the Chicago Bulls when he wasn't given the last play, and it went to our guy, the white man from overseas, Tony Kukoc, who made the shot. Scottie Pippen didn't want to play in the NBA Finals because of a back injury. Scottie Pippen came out and said his coach, Phil Jackson, was a racist a year ago. He said Michael Jordan was self-centered. He said Michael Jordan wasn't that good. His teammates. Scottie Pippen, I view him as a quitter. I view him as a guy that cared more about himself than he did the team. And I think when somebody gets called the last shot, you just want to win. I don't really care who takes it as long as you win the game. He wasn't happy for Tony Kukoc. He took it the wrong way. And I don't view Scottie Pippen as a good teammate. I think he's a great player, but I think his actions throughout his career do not demonstrate a great teammate to me.
That's an interesting take. I never thought of that angle. I don't think he would make my list. If I'll say
That's
that
fair.
up front.
Yep, that's
But I
fair.
can see the reasoning behind leaving so. And the only thing I would battle that was that he made so much less than like a Jordan or the other
Right.
players on the
Fair.
team, which was
Yep.
his own fault. He signs a really ridiculous deal at the time. But that's the only thing I'd have to like battle with. That is that he took less money so that they could get better players and win those championships. But yeah, I could see that, and I've heard like he didn't like Jordan that much. He just kind of standed him because they were winning. The Phil Jackson, that makes sense. He probably wasn't super out of his fair share of games as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
can see it. I agree with the points. I can agree with the points. This is not a shock. Number 2 for me, Kyrie Irving.
Same.
Yeah, it's just too easy to have him on this list, which is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make. I don't think Kyrie Irving is totally disliked throughout the league. I think
I think
that
he's
he
well
actually.
liked.
I think he
Yeah.
has got teammates that really enjoy him and really and like. I think for whatever reason, I don't think it was KD. I don't think KD. The reason for wanting to trade earlier this season was all Kyrie. I think that there was other factors that went into that, but the antics, the professionalism night in, night out, the way he clashed with coaches, he
Oh, we're losing connection there with Shea. Maybe we'll let him reset there, and then we'll reestablish here. But no, to his points, I mean, he's he's a team obliterator, as I said yesterday. He does everything seemingly the wrong way, and there's so many teams that there's a lot of players that like Kyrie. I agree with Shamus, and I don't really know why. Everybody just seems they probably think they can fix a person. It's it's a complex I think people get where they view somebody as a problem and you think you can fix them. And I think we see this in relationships. I think we see this in different walks of life where you know, I, you ever see the movie The Blind Side? I think Sandra Bullock's character at first kind of got that opinion where she looked at Michael Orr, who was this black homeless youth, and she looked like she could, try to give him a better life, and it might not be coming from a place of love, but a place of selfishness, and just okay, I have this complex, I can help this person, I can do everything, and it's not necessarily a coming from a great place. You're doing it selfishly. So we'll bring Shamus back in here. But yeah, Kyrie is something else. I don't know why people give him second, third, fourth, fifth chances, but they do. But I don't think Kevin Durant likes him. In the back of his mind, I don't think LeBron James likes him. He's just desperate. And I know everybody in Boston hates Kyrie Irving.
yeah.
Hate.
Can you think of a more and maybe this will ever happen? Do you think there will ever be another NBA player that is so talented but so disliked at the same time?
So in the history of the game,
No, will there ever be one more like
oh,
after Kyrie, or maybe you know of one later on? I can't think of one off the top of my head
I'm
because I
gonna
know
say
players who were great, and they were pricks, but they
yeah.
weren't they weren't to another level where you can't stand the
Mhm.
guy and you can't, you know what I mean? Like
I'm gonna
always in the
say
comp.
no, but I'm leaning towards there'll be another one because it's the NBA.
Yeah, like
Like there's always somebody that I thought of Iverson when you said that, but he wasn't disliked that much. He was a lot AI.
yes,
But
I agree.
he maybe Iverson because he had a really high opinion of himself. But
True, true, and he was also super talented, as we know.
yeah, Dwight Howard.
But was Dwight that disliked?
He played on a lot of teams.
He did. I'll give him that. I give him that. Maybe he should have made this list. I never thought of him like that. He's over in China, living it up right now, dominating his
I
league.
saw he made the All Star team over in China. He's also on. He's on a Fox show right now for World's Toughest Test.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Military show.
Is that
Military
is
show.
that something he filmed before the season?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, he's still in the media. Hey, give it to him. He's still in the media. He still
yeah.
gets his clicks. Yeah. No, I mean, it's at the end of the day, you look at Kyrie's track record. Cleveland couldn't stand, didn't want to be LeBron's number two, left.
Hmm.
Boston had to be the number one.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And it's the fact that he's a liar, too. I think,
Yeah,
you know what I
he's
mean?
just
Like,
he's a bold faced liar.
I think it was, I forgot what podcast. It was the exact same quote. He had the exact same quote coming from Boston to going to Dallas. It was like,
Right,
oh, like, so excited for this. Can't wait to play for Brad Stevens. Can't wait to play with Luca. You know what I mean?
right.
Like just picture like you blink, you seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
So like he does. What's his give a shit level? We don't know.
Who's number one for you? Worst teammates?
This is an NFL. Do you have an NFLer?
Yeah, I do.
I think we have the same guy. It's pretty.
Is it is it Antonio Brown?
No, it's not.
Oh,
Oh, surprising. Okay,
go.
I have Romo, Bill Romanowski.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
so a little preview. This guy, linebacker, great.
Hmm.
I think I believe he's one of the greatest players, maybe in the position to play.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
also believe he's one of the biggest snap shows ever to be in the NFL.
Affirmative.
Plays that very well in The Longest Yard. If anyone doesn't know who I'm talking about, you can go watch that movie. He's in there.
Hmm.
This guy punched his teammate Marcus Williams in the face and destroyed his eye socket, ending his career in a scrum. Not just in a scrum.
Yeah.
Tore his helmet off and broke his face. I don't know if there's worse things you can do to a teammate than that. I've heard of there's bizarre things, but this is just outright cruel. You know, ending a man's career. I mean, that's one
Yeah.
that like, and he and this and you know that he just doesn't feel sorry for him.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. No.
And on top of that, there's other things too. Definitely a guy who maybe dabbled in the old ROIDS maybe a time or two. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
Didn't know if he got caught or not, but couldn't find that. But I just feel like with the behavior that he inspires, I feel like he might be dabbling in that community. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, he would be known for in practice for going like chop blocks on his teammates and just it's taking it too far to say the least.
Yeah.
I had Antonio Brown because just I mean basically quitting on the Steelers, filming a Facebook Live after they won a game so that everybody could see it, asking out, calling Big Ben selfish and a loser after he's won a Super Bowl and Antonio Brown had done nothing. Getting traded to the Raiders, not showing up because he got cryotherapy on his feet and they look like gross, old, mangled, old people feet. He couldn't
Mhm.
run. Not playing there, got outright cut, just wouldn't show up. Sounds like a good teammate. After Derek Carr tried to be his friend. Goes to Tampa, proclaims his love for Tom Brady. They do win a Super Bowl. The next year, had to have pondering surgery, not going to have it. And then Tom Brady's not throwing enough balls. So in the middle of the game, chucks a Gatorade tub, says peace to the NFL world, including Tom Brady. And now every time Tom Brady reaches out, he shares those messages on Twitter, the private conversations. So this guy, I feel for him at times. I think he probably has CTE. And I think he's going through some bad mental stuff.
Probably.
But his behavior. I mean, you can't excuse it. It's of an immature little kid the way he acts. In our world today.
I always think of the helmet situation. Didn't want
Yep.
to. Everyone in the league could get behind this new helmet.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't do it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not coming to practice. I'm not doing like. Yeah, this is a good one. This is one I wish it didn't even come on my radar. I don't know how, but you're right. Absolutely, be in my top 5 if I redid this. Just an overall bad character, bad cat. Just and you're right. I think it does stem from a lot of problems, which maybe that's same with. I'd say Romo suffered from the same thing. He probably had some CTE issues.
Yeah.
And if you look back, maybe his career would have been different if he would have done something different, differently with his health. But ultimately, yeah. I mean, when you talk about his stint in Vegas was just so funny. Or I guess it would have been Oakland then, right?
Yeah, it was the last year in Oakland. Yeah.
Yeah, just so funny because like he had all the talent in the world and he wasted it. And I think that's a bad teammate too.
And he
You
blew
look
$100 million.
Yeah. Like how? Like how do you do that?
Yeah.
It just raises more questions if anything, and it's like if you're a teammate looking at that and you're thinking you have all the talent in the world and you don't give one shit about it, what's that say to me who's trying my ass off every day to become a better player?
Right. And you're not going to give Tom Brady the time of day. Tom Brady, the GOAT, Tom
Took you in
Brady,
his home.
the best teammate. Maybe you could argue he's right up there. Like, okay, no, we're not. Fuck Tom Brady. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Another guy I just thought of that I missed, Richie Incognito. He used to be an offensive lineman. Was in Buffalo recently. Played for Vegas. When he was in Miami. He bullied a teammate, and he got suspended for bullying that teammate for a year and a half. That guy never played in the NFL again. He used to physically beat him up. He used to beat him up in the showers. He used to make fun of him. Richie Incognito, not a good person.
Yeah. Same with comes to mind. I think I'm butchering his name. I think his name's Tyler Cobb. Just a known racist, a very known racist throughout the MLB. Wouldn't play on fields worked by black like I would say linesmen. Yeah, like people who work on exactly. And like he got in scuffles with teammates all the time, management. Like ultimately just a bad guy. Probably should have never been in the league in the first place.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Some of the stuff that happens. What NHL restarted last night. What's your biggest storyline heading into the second half here?
Well, I'm watching. For me, I guess it's more. It's super interested in this Calgary team. You know what I mean? Like I haven't fully given up on them and their run to the playoffs, but they're in such an interesting position because they have players. I think they can look to trade if they don't. I think of Tyler Toffoli. He's having a career season with them, but at the same time, you're going to get a ton for him because he's on a 2-year deal. He doesn't make much money, and he'd be an asset on almost any team. Right. So I really following them. I watched them last night. I watched a lot of that Rangers game. I thought it was good. It was physical, obviously, with Trouba. I mean, he's nothing more than just a wild horse out there is the way I can describe his game right now.
Let me ask you this because I'm genuinely curious to hear your take on this. Why is Jacob Trouba so hated? Like Twitter, people hate Jacob Trouba. I love him.
I think because I think the only reason people don't like him is because he just plays on that line.
Right.
But people ultimately just need someone to be like, yeah, he's taking it too far. And
Mhm.
he's the easy guy to say, "Oh, he's taking it too far." Because there's other players that play like that. We're not going to exclude him, but he's always kind of the guy. Media. Oh, here's a big hit by Trouba. Well, that looked dirty. It was a clean hit. It's kind of
The Kadri hit last night was a perfect hit.
it was clean as hell. But
Yeah,
no, he's got to answer the bell, and why is he doing that? Why is he trying to injure? No, he's just playing the way hockey's supposed to be played, and people
yeah.
can't handle it. Yeah, it's very frustrating to see people up in arms over good hockey.
Yeah, the Flames were interesting for me too. I thought Coleman and Toffoli were really good last night for the Flames, but I mean, Markstrom's a snap. He talks snap show, bad teammates. The guy loses it after every game. Broke his stick last night, and let's be honest, Dan Vladar has been a better goaltender than Markstrom this year,
Yeah,
and they're gonna have to consider playing Vladar more down the stretch because Markstrom gives up 4 goals a game. It just seems to happen. He gave up 5 last night. Flames, I thought, were lucky to get a point. They got a few calls there that I didn't think they really deserved. But yeah, they're intriguing because the Pacific's wide open.
that's what I mean, right?
Yeah,
What about you? What have been the East? Anything that interests you? I know you have some dominant teams, but then there's some
yeah.
races going on.
I think we're gonna get a good race for once for the wild card teams. I think Florida will be in the mix. They dominated Tampa last night. My boy Matthew Tkachuk just continues to deliver. You got Buffalo in there. I think Ottawa's gonna creep. Little TLC action. They're gonna creep. They're 6 points back. I think they'll be in the mix. Pittsburgh, Washington. I don't know about those two teams, but I'm curious to see if we can get a race into March. That's something that interests me just to see, and also if any of these teams are aggressive. I think Ottawa should try to improve at the trade deadline, and I think Ottawa should try to improve the deadline. I think if Buffalo has an opportunity, they should look into it. I like what Buffalo did today with the Dylan Cozens contract.
Me
I think
too.
that's smart. So yeah, you like that deal for Dill?
For Dill Boy.
For Dill,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I do. I do. I'm gonna use a very generic Craig Button line, which I hate because I don't like Craig Button, but he is the workhorse from Yellow Horse or whatever that
Yeah.
place is called. White Horse, sorry, not Yellow Horse.
Yeah.
Um, no, I agree. I totally agree with it. And it's people are gonna diss him and say, "Oh, this is his only good year." Why? You're paying for the player that's gonna come 2-3 years from now. You're not paying for the
Yeah.
player that's now, and that's just how the NHL has been. I think about Lou Amorello's comments with Bo Horvat. It's like, okay, it kind of makes me think that Lou Amorello is not going to be there much longer
Yeah. I
because
said I said yesterday he might be dead by the time the contract's up.
that contract for sure. Yeah, absolutely. But do you think he's there? Do you think he's there at the beginning of next season?
I don't think it's 100%.
If he made that contract, obviously he did not like he was signing it, but someone above him said you're gonna get this done.
I think if they miss the playoffs, I don't think he's back.
That's a good yeah. That's a solid take because I mean he gave up all that. You're
Yep.
not. I mean, you got a good goaltender. You got almost a Vezina winning goaltender, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
what's going wrong here? And it's goal scoring, and you just signed a goal scorer that couldn't fix the problem. Well, yeah, we'll see.
I watched some of
Interesting.
that game last night too, and just to see what Horvat looked like in the new team.
I did
I like
too.
that. I like that they're putting Barzell on the wing. That's where he should play. He's not. He's not a centerman. He's not strong enough defensive in his own zone. He's not winning a draw against anybody in his
Mm.
own. In those situations. So I don't mind that. It was fun. The Hughes brothers played last night. I don't think I've ever seen Quinn play harder in a game or skate back more defensively in overtime. But Jack's on fire. He's playing some good hockey, and if you're looking for prop bets and looking for good value, Jack Hughes prop bet to be nominated for the Hart, not necessarily to win, but to be one of the final nominations might be an interesting bet to throw down.
I like that. I like that. If Wayne L says it could be happening, then it's true. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. If
He's playing. He's so confident with the puck. He just looks like a different player than what we
yeah,
saw early in his career.
it was weird because for a while there, it would look like New Jersey was going to be kind of on it looked like they had the amazing start and then they were going to be going on a different spiral down.
Mhm.
And now they're kind of, it's evened out with Jack's play / some good things going on in the back end. It's interesting team too, because I mean, they could make a move, right? I think they
Yep.
have some cap space or they definitely have contracts that could be easily departed. I think of Thomas Tatar. If you want to get
Yep.
rid of that for maybe upgrade a position, maybe they go and try to get who knows, Timo Hurdle or Timo
Mhm.
Meyer, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. He's from Switzerland. They got a couple of Swiss guys already
There you go.
in that roster. I think Timo Meyer, I think the Rangers, I think the Devils, he's gonna end up somewhere in the New York, New Jersey area.
Yeah.
Any I know I've kept you a while, but anything you've watched recently you want to say to the viewers that they should check out? Any interesting content right now?
Yeah, so we finished Yellow Jacket, which I think I mentioned I watched
Mm-hmm.
maybe a couple weeks ago. We started that. That was really interesting. I'd give that a go. Interesting concept. Not sci-fi as much as kind of like drama / survivalish kind of. So
Yeah.
that was good. I watched, you highly recommended Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I got to watch that last Sunday. I still haven't been able to get it out of my mind, just the concept and everything. It's very
Yeah.
different, but it's very
Yeah.
good. We talked briefly this weekend. I'm going to try and watch as many Oscar Best Picture or Best Picture nominees as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So got a couple on those on the horizon. But yeah, those were the two big things. I guess I watched Yellow Jackets and Everything Everywhere All at Once. What about you?
Nice. So yeah, I've watched Tar Sunday night, which was good with Kate Blanchett. That's an Oscar movie. I was calling you last week about The White Lotus season 2, and I said I was going to spread it out. I finished it the next night,
I
which
figured.
I miss it already. It what a brilliant piece of work that was.
Yeah.
I loved every second of it. Those 7
Uh,
episodes flew by.
yeah. I hope Mike White and HBO continue to do things
Work
together.
together.
It seems
Yeah,
like a
me
good
too.
relationship.
So now like you said, I'm still going to catch some Oscar movies, but I've watched a lot of them recently. But also, I I have a guilty pleasure movie that I want to watch that I know is probably not going to be good, but I'm going to watch. Plane
Let's
with
hear it.
Gerard Butler. You see the movie?
Plane.
Yeah,
I've not. I've not. It's very sad, but every time I see Gerard, I automatically am like, no, I'm not watching this.
yeah, yeah.
It's yeah. What? Like, give me the rundown
Oh,
in
it's
like
it's
20
like a
seconds.
Liam Neeson special. Like they're on a plane and it crash lands, and then there's pirates that they have to protect the people of the plane. It'll be bad, but it'll be 2 hours I can get
Wait,
out of.
did they crash on an island or in the
Yeah,
water?
I think an island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's a water would be interesting because then you kind of have to like be
yeah.
strategic with how you're, but an island, yeah, that's
And
original.
I think I just finished a book by Jeff Pearlman called Winning Time. And I know there's a show called Winning Time on HBO and Crave.
Yes.
So I think
Yeah.
I'm going to watch Winning Time because the book was one of the best books I've ever read and in my life. And I want to see what they do to depict the book,
Okay.
see how close it is. I believe John C. Riley plays Pat Riley, I believe, which is it's an
Yeah.
Adam McKay venture. So I'm curious to see how good it is.
Yeah, for anyone listening, Winning Time is basically based off of the
1980s Lakers.
the 1980 Lakers, the success, the fame, and also the superstars, stardom that came with that. And
Yeah.
for anyone who doesn't know, the Lakers won 6 championships in the 80s. They were ultimately one of the biggest dynasties of all time, with Kareem, who we mentioned earlier,
Yep.
being the kind of the forefront of that with Magic and some other great guys. So, yeah, no, it's a show that I've had on my radar for quite a while and one I want to try and get to eventually.
Yeah. Well, any big weekend plans coming up?
No major plans. Gonna probably try and get for a hike. Probably taking. Actually, I think my goal this weekend is not to watch Toronto and Columbus play. I think I'm just gonna stay away, but try to watch something else. I feel like I'm pulling one out of your books if I go stoop that low and watch those two teams play.
Right. Well, you got the Waste Management this weekend, which is
Yeah,
always
I think
fun.
there's a big event Sunday night too. I can't remember. There might be something going on. I can't remember.
Yeah, I might watch that. I don't know.
I guess I should give my pick now here on the live,
Yeah,
just
let's
so
do that. Yeah, what's your Super Bowl prediction?
my prediction, because I'm starting to think the NFL may be scripted and maybe not. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think that Patty Mahomes gets his second, and it's a big thing. Andy Reid beats his old team.
right.
Patty does it with an injured leg, and I think they make a big deal out of it. But I think it's going to be tight. Like, I know some Super Bowls in the past have been pretty
Mhm.
lopsided. I think this one's going to be like the Mahomes and boys get out deep early, and then I think Philly kind of claws back. So that's my prediction. I'm going to go with that.
All right, I like it. I'm gonna save mine for later in the week.
Yeah, I figured you were going to give yours later in the week, but I'm
But
not coming back on, so I
but no,
wanted to put my 2 cents in there.
I like the prediction. Do you
Uh,
think the halftime show will be great, good, indifferent, bad?
ooh.
Rihanna.
Is it just Rihanna?
All I know is Rihanna, but for some reason I think Eminem's gonna be there.
Oh, they have a song together, or just a
We got
couple
two, I
songs.
think. Love
I
the
think it's gonna be good. I don't think it's gonna be great. I think it's just gonna be good. I don't think it's, but I don't also think it's gonna shit the bed like some have in the past.
right.
What
Yeah,
about
I don't
you?
know enough Rihanna music. Like I don't know her new stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't know her new stuff either, but I feel like it's gonna be. It's like Maroon 5. They play the classics, and like everybody can bob their head, kind of.
Maroon 5. Maroon 5 was fine to take his tarp off, but oh, J-Lo comes on the screen and she shows some thigh, and every Karen was not okay with that.
Yeah, well,
So
They like Adam Levine more than they like J
you know,
Lo.
I'm gonna speak for yourself because I watch every J-Lo movie there is. Shotgun Wedding, I watch that right away. I'm a fan. So, well, thanks for the time tonight, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday post trade deadline.
Have a good one. Enjoy it yourself. Thanks, pal.
See ya. There's Shamus Fillmore. Great to chat with him. Trade deadline on Thursday. We'll have full recap here on To the Point. Fun show today. Still got some NFL stuff that we can get into tomorrow, but we'll save that for tomorrow's program. Do have some more thoughts on the Sean Payton of it all in the NFL, so I want to touch on that later in the week. Just with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, so we'll touch on that. So write that down here so I don't forget. Dylan Cozens, as I just said, signed in Buffalo, 7 years times $7.1 million per. So that's some news there. And just as we leave here, Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers says he'll enter isolation before making final decision on future, a darkness retreat. Don't know if there's any ayahuasca involved in that retreat, but Aaron Rodgers is going dark before he makes his decision on his future. Wow. So could have Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and J.J. Watt in the same Hall of Fame class in 5 years, which would be a hell of a class. But we'll wait and see what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. I think he plays again next year, but I've been wrong before. Everybody, thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for listening, subscribing, all that you do for the show. Have a great evening. Enjoy the sports. Maybe LeBron breaks the record, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. Either way, I'll be back here. To the Point.